What is up, guys, and welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be going over some new potential speedsters that could appear on The Flash Season 8. But of course, before we get started, make sure that you guys like, share, subscribe, turn on notifications, and comment any other video suggestions for me. So guys, the first speedster that I think should make an appearance sometime on The Flash Season 8, if not Season 8, then sometime in the future of the show, is definitely Daniel West. Now, if you guys don't know who that is, in the comics, he is actually Iris's brother. Now, on the show, Iris's brother is Wally West, but in the comics, Wally West is Iris's nephew. So, Daniel West in the comics is actually another version of the Reverse Flash. He is basically a speedster that only wants to change his own past, and obviously, he's killing a bunch of people in order to do this, and then this is obviously makes himself a villain of the Flash. So yeah, I think he would be a really cool villain to see on the show. Maybe we find out that Iris has another long-lost brother, and his name is Daniel, or something along the lines of that. I think that'd be awesome to see. And then, of course, another version of the Reverse Flash shows up. That would be great. But yeah, Daniel West appearing sometime on the show. What do you guys think about that? I think he'd be a very threatening villain. Being, you know, what I've read about him in the comics, he kind of reminds me of Zoom. I think he'd be a pretty Zoom-like villain to see on the show, and I think that'd be amazing. So maybe they should consider putting Daniel West as a main villain sometime on The Flash. Now, another speedster villain that I think could appear sometime on The Flash is the Future Flash. Now, they kind of already did this on the show, being Savitar, because the Future Flash is a version of an alternate version of Barry, who's turned into a villain. But I think the Future Flash would actually be a really interesting villain and a really interesting storyline on The Flash, even if they've already sort of done him. So basically, in the comics, he blames himself for the death of Wally West, and basically that turns him into a villain. He's trying to prevent this from happening. And the death of Wally West, this would also be a way to sort of write Kid Flash out of the show, as obviously the actor doesn't really come back very much. So I think this would probably be an interesting storyline, one that I could definitely see happening mainly for that reason. However, I don't think this will be like a season-long main villain if they ever end up, even putting him on the show at all. But I still think he'd be a pretty interesting storyline to see the Future Flash on the show. Now, this next speedster, of course, not a new speedster, that would be Godspeed. Godspeed is most likely to return probably sometime in Season 8. The showrunner for The Flash, Eric Wallace, did say that Godspeed has now made an enemy of Barry. So whenever Godspeed escapes Iron Heights, which he presumably will, apparently that's going to come back to bite Barry. So we should be getting another Godspeed storyline sometime in the future, and hopefully it will be good. I really hope they, go more about Godspeed's comic book route, where he steals other speedsters' speed, and that's basically what he does as a villain. And maybe, who knows, maybe this is setting up even more of a comic book storyline for Godspeed, where he sort of turns into an anti-hero just like in the comics. So I think that'd be pretty cool to see on the show with Godspeed. And then this next speedster, of course, this one has been talked about for a while, and that is Red Death. Now, I think Red Death is so far the most likely to appear out of these first four speedsters that I've mentioned. Reason being, Eric Wallace said that the first main villain that we see in the first graphic novel of The Flash Season 8 is supposed to be like a horrifying villain, and that would definitely apply to Red Death. So I think Red Death it's decently likely that he will appear sometime on the show. He was teased, so I think Eric Wallace will definitely have an idea of where to, put Red Death in the show, and I think it'd be pretty cool if, maybe even if he was this main villain for this 5-episode team up. I think that'd be pretty cool to see. So yeah, hopefully we see a Red Death storyline, and maybe, might be Ramsey Rosso contaminated by the negative Speed Force. It could somehow be Eddie Thawne. I guess that's another theory people are starting to come up with, that Eddie Thawne could be Red Death instead of Cobalt Blue. I think that'd be pretty interesting to see right there. But yeah, hopefully they come up with a great storyline for Red Death whenever they end up putting him on the show. Now, this next speedster villain is another villain that has been talked about a lot, and that, of course, is Cobalt Blue, who I'm hoping is going to be Eddie Thawne. Now, if Eddie Thawne does end up being Red Death, I wouldn't be opposed to that. I think Red Death's going to be a pretty cool villain, no matter who he might be. But here's the thing with Eddie Thawne being Cobalt Blue. I really want him to be Cobalt Blue because in the comics, Cobalt Blue's real name is Malcolm Thawne, who is a lost brother of Barry Allen. I really don't know if they're going to say that Eddie would be like a brother of Barry Allen. I think that'd be really interesting. And yeah, Eddie actually looks a lot like Malcolm Thawne from the comics, so I think he'd, fit the role perfectly. And because his last name is Thawne, obviously, maybe they can even put the Reverse Flash into that storyline. I definitely think throwing Thawne into the mix would definitely make more sense with Cobalt Blue than Red Death. So I think it'd be awesome to see Cobalt Blue for this villain here. And if Cobalt Blue does end up appearing in Season 8, it is most likely going to be in the back half of the season, as it's basically confirmed that he will not appear in the first half, so the back half is definitely the more likely option. So this next Speedster villain I think is a little bit unlikely to happen, but I think it'd still be amazing to see on the show, and that Speedster villain is Inertia. Now, if you guys don't know who Inertia is, in the comics, Inertia is basically Bart's version of the Reverse Flash, so basically Bart's arch enemy. Now, on the show, of course, Godspeed is Bart's arch enemy. However, I think they could just say that, you know, Inertia was just another villain that Impulse faced or something along the lines of that. So if they end up doing like a new Bart storyline somehow in Season 8, then I think they could definitely throw Inertia into the mix. I think that'd be cool to see. Obviously, though, Bart's not likely to appear on a lot of Season 8, but if he does end up returning sometime this season, then I think they could definitely throw Inertia in there somewhere, and he could be a pretty cool Speedster villain to see on The Flash. Now, these next two Speedsters are new Speedster heroes that could possibly appear on the show, and that could be like Johnny Quick. If you guys don't know who that is, in the comics, Johnny Quick is actually Jesse Quick's father, and basically, I'm thinking that maybe like on Stargirl's Earth, there's another Jesse Quick or something like that, and her father is Johnny Quick. I think that would definitely make sense for me, in my opinion, so I think that'd be pretty cool to see, although it's a little bit unlikely. But this next Speedster hero is a little bit more likely, in my opinion, and that is Max Mercury. Now, in the comics, Bart's mentor is Max Mercury. On the show, I guess Bart's mentor is sort of Jay Garrick, but just because of that comic book relationship that Bart and Max Mercury have, I definitely think Max Mercury is a little bit more likely to appear on the show, and he would be pretty interesting to see as well. And then the final Speedster that I have for this video, I definitely think Black Flash absolutely has to return somehow. Maybe they say, you know, because of Crisis on Infinite Earths, he's back or something like that. Or maybe like because of the Speed Force being reborn, he's also somehow been reborn. Because Black Flash is not a part of the negative Speed Force. Black Flash is like basically a Speed Force. He's sort of like a Time Wraith, except like an actual speedster, so I think he should definitely appear back on the show once again, as he is a huge part of the Flash in the comics, so it only makes sense for him to return on the show, which I think would be amazing to see. But anyways, I'd say that's about it, guys. Thanks for watching. Make sure to comment your thoughts on this video down below, as well as your thoughts on what Speedsters you guys think might appear in Season 8. Maybe there's some Speedsters that I missed in this video that you guys think will appear in Season 8. So make sure you guys comment your thoughts on all of that down below. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video.